Girls, so today is clay day. We are going to get to build our masks. So right now you're going to have your sketch paper, which this is going to be my mask that I'm going to build. You're going to get a thing of clay, and you have to decide how you're going to divide this out. So we all know fractions. I like to divide mine out into fours. So there's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and I like to cut it in half. Now yours might be different depending on how many shapes you have or how big your body wants. Maybe you want a fourth. Maybe you want to put it in a ball, which I just cut my hands and go back and forth. And then maybe you want to pull off extra for your shapes. This is like a third. So you got to decide what you want. Make sure that you pull extra off though, because you want your slab and then you want your shapes. So I like to do mine in half. So I'm going to rip mine in half, and then I'm going to use this part for the slab, the part of my clay, like my face. This is going to be the shapes that I'm going to add on. So I'm going to take this half, and I'm first going to make a sphere. A sphere form. This is what we're learning about forms. Then I'm going to put it down on my table, and I'm going to flatten it. This is called a slab. Now, if you don't think that you have enough for the face, this might be a little small. You might need to add more into it. Now, when you do this, you don't want it to be really any thinner than your pinky, so this is about right. If it's too thin, it's going to crack in the kiln. So that's really important. One thing that you guys have to remember is never just play with your clay. It will dry out in a matter of an hour if you just sit there and redo this and redo this. So don't sit there and play with your clay. Now you have all this extra, so you can slide that up and put it with your extra clay. Now that I have my slab, you can smooth it out with your fingers, but I need to make it into this shape. So I like to use the stick, and I'm going to draw it out as best as I can. So this is more tall than anything. So I'm going to draw out my shape. So there it is. I'm going to cut this out. So what I'm doing is I just lightly sketched it into the clay, and now I'm going to use the tip, the sharp area, and push all the way through. Each time I push through, it's just like Play-Doh. You're going to pull that off, the extra. So I have got all this extra. I'm just going to continue to pull it off. Now that you have all this extra stuff on your clay, I'd like for you to smooth it out just so it looks nicer and neater. And I just smooth it back into the clay with my fingers. And you can, if it kind of messed up while you were cutting it out, you can always go in and fix it. Okay, now that you have your shape, I like to make sure that's not stuck to the table. If you need my help with this, you got to be patient because there's one of me and lots of you, but I can come and help you. Now that I've got my shape, I'm going to add my forms to this. So it goes like this. I'm going to look at my forms and all the shapes that I have. So I know that I have ovals for my eyes. You're going to take the right amount that you need. So this is going to be kind of a guessing game. And if you're going to make a sphere of any sort, you want to make it into a ball first. If you're making an oval, then I like to flatten it out with my hands. Now, you can do it this way, or you can take clay, make a slab, and then you can actually cut out your ovals. And this is still considered a form, because it's three-dimensional. You can see all sides. So I know I like to just set it down just so I can see all my shapes first. I'm going to cut this out. This might be too big. Okay. Now I have all of these little lines right here. So I don't have to necessarily make these shapes. I can go in and kind of engrave that out. So I'm going to go in, use this part of my tool, this pointy part, and I'm actually going to draw this shape in. I'm not cutting all the way through, but you want to make sure it's still smooth and nice and neat and clean. And then I'm going to go in and make those lines. So it goes all the way over. If you need to simplify your mask a little bit because you have too many details, that is completely fine. So get all of that extra little clay that's sticking up and rub it back in. And now I have two little circles here. So I'm going to take two little circles, two little spheres, and I like to roll it with my hands. And I'm going to put them here and here. You have to decide what you want your where you want your forms and where you want your etchings, your engravings to be. So maybe inside my eyes, I want to do these two lines to be engraved, these two lines to be engraved, and then the inner circle I could make. So maybe I want to take these two little guys and place them here and here. Okay, now I've got this shape. This is kind of an organic shape, so you're not going to get it perfect, but I like, again, to make a slab and then to draw it out and then cut it out to make the shape. Okay, now that I have my hair right here, this is like a big zigzag line, I want to make a slab that's going to be that long. So what I'm going to do is measure it out by placing it towards the top, and then I'm going to cut that shape out. Now this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. I simplified this and made 3. Remember, anytime you cannot get it up, just use one of these and slide it off. And I know that that's going to go right there. You're going to continue to add all your shapes. Now, the most important thing that you're going to hear from me in this, you've got to be listening here. None of this is going to stay on unless I do what's called slipping and scoring. So you're going to use this stuff. This is like glue for your clay. And you're going to use, again, the sharp part of this. Now, this is not going to stay on here unless I slip and score it. So you're going to score it first, wherever you want to stick it down. And scoring just means making it really rough. And same with wherever you're scoring it to or slipping it to. So I like to make, it's really easy to just make like a checkerboard kind of. And then you're going to grab some slip and just kind of stick it on there. And then when you put it back down, you're going to press down. And this is going to make your pieces stick. I have at least 3 people that don't listen to this direction, and when I put it in the kiln, all your pieces end up falling off when it gets hot. So you want to slip and score everything you stick on. Even this part up here, I can't just stick it here. I need to slip and score it. So I'm going to score on this edge. And then I need to score on this edge. And then you slip. And then stick it on. Now, let's say it's really, really messy right here. If you can tell, you can go in with your fingers and smooth it out. And then I might need to go in and redraw the hair. And maybe that line. Now let's say I want to make sure that it really is going to stick on this time. I can go and turn it to the back and use this little flat popsicle stick and smear the clay together. So right now, here's my mask so far, and I'm not done. Notice the eye's already fallen because I have not slipped and scored any of these. You need to slip and score. So the main things you need to know, you need to make a slab after you've taken your clay. I still have all this extra clay, so you might want to make your mask a little bit bigger because you're not going to end up using all of this. So you're going to figure out how big you want your slab. Then you're going to cut out your face. Then you're going to start making your forms to put on your face. You need to slip and score so that they stay on your face. After you are done, you need to take any extra clay, put it together. Don't sit there and play with it because then we won't be able to use it for another project. And you're going to put it on the back table. Then you're going to ask me to come over to you. Just raise your hand, and I'm going to put your name or your initials. Mine is AH. And then I'm going to put 4 and then your teacher's initials, KL. Please don't do that yourself just because I'm going to be the one that has to read it throughout. And you're going to have your mask. Have fun!